Welcome, colleagues, on behalf of SAIA Practice. Welcome to all SAIA members, friends of SAIAshare, and those who have joined us for the first time. SAIAshare is an event that is held on the first Friday of every month. My name is Eugene Barnard. I will be your host this afternoon. I'm a member of the practice committee. I will be joined behind the desk by Emile Paulson, the interim executive for practice matters at SAIA. Welcome, Emile. As usual, Corina Gibson from ECPD is at our side to make sure the event runs smoothly. Corina, thank you once again for all the effort that you put into arranging this event. Angelique, welcome back. Angelique Pillay from our kind sponsors, Duravit, is also with us. So nice to have you with us. Welcome again, Angelique. Thank you very much for supporting our program and for enhancing it with your products. We have two power-packed presentations for you this afternoon, once again to equip and to inspire. Don't hesitate to participate by posting questions and comments in the question box. In session 2, Gerard Bosman will share with us the joys and pleasures of the traveling architect, something to look forward to. But first, for session 1, allow me to introduce to you Chris Pearson. Chris is a director and executive head of NMG Risk Managers and the current Apegis scheme manager. He has specialized in professional indemnity, liability, and financial risks for the past 30 years. He has been involved in providing advice and brokerage services to many professional service providers and professional associations over the years. As the founder and managing director of PI Financial Risk Services, he, together with one of our SAIA members, regrettably deceased, Ronald Remmers, many of you might remember Ronald, they were the founding initiative behind the Apegis Architects PI scheme for the Institute of Architects. The Apegis PI scheme has endured for longer than any similar scheme in South Africa and is very similar to this offering by REBA in the UK to its members. I have no doubt that Chris has a wealth of experience and will be sharing with us on the topic. Chris, I'd love to have you by my side very often because practicing is quite challenging, and so we look most forward to your presentation, liability hazards architects have to deal with and risk mitigation options available to practitioners. So with that, Chris, I'm going to hand the screen to you and look forward with anticipation to what you have to offer. Thanks.
Chris, I have unmuted you.
Okay. Thanks very much, Eugene. I'm going to switch off the camera so that we hopefully get a good transmission. Please ask questions if you have any whilst we go through the presentation. As Eugene mentioned, the architectural profession faces many hazards. In fact, I've been related to construction companies and the professionals that service with them for many years, and it is not always an easy relationship between the professionals and the contractors. So it is important that the architects have a resource which can assist them in dealing with the liability and the hazards that architects face in their business. Somebody once said to me, I'm not sure if it was an architect or an engineer, that they actually like risky situations because it raises the margins you can earn, but you have to manage that risk very well. If I may continue through my presentation, I'll give you just a quick overview of how do I get this to, sorry, a quick overview of what the presentation will contain. It's just a brief overview of APIGIS, which is the Architectural Professional Indemnity Group Insurance Scheme. It's a unique value proposition. It is similar to what the REBA and the Australian Institute have, but I think ours does go a little bit further. Then address the current and future characteristics of the architect's risk and insurance workplace. Also, we need to provide continuous advice on risk management and indemnity, because the risks and exposures and legal matters don't stay the same all the time. And then I've given a brief comparison with what happens on the international front in Australia and the UK. The APIGIS scheme was established over 25 years ago, and it was really set up at the instigation of Ronald Rembers, who found that at that stage PI insurance was difficult to obtain, was expensive, and the ball was always seemed to be in the insurance company's hands. And he wanted something that could be set up on the basis that it's exclusive to SAIA members, because they have a better risk profile. I'll go into that a bit later. And also to act as a support for the Institute in attracting new and retaining existing members. The intention of APIGIS 2 was to sit beyond the reach of outside influences. It has the ability to set its own rules about who can benefit from the scheme and who would be entitled to join. The first point being that they must be members of good standing with SAIA. The whole idea was to focus on and give advice on the legal exposures that architects face, and obtaining the best and most competitive insurance policies and premiums. The intention was that this, and the intention is, and that is still in effect, it to be a free service to the profession. It is funded out of the commission shares that NMG risk managers, who are the insurance brokers appointed by the APIGIS Trust, they share 25% of their commissions with the APIGIS Trust, which goes to funding the costs and expenses, and also shares those funds with the regions. The intention was to provide added value to SAIA and regional membership, both from a retention and new membership standpoint. It was intended to present a united front to outside influences, on the basis that as member of a group buying scheme, you're not on your own out there facing the terrors of the insurance market and the rating and claim settlements that insurers can impose. You are members of a group buying scheme, which gives you a lot more clout, in simple terms. NNG risk managers are appointed by the APJS Trust to provide the legal risk and insurance advice in order to be compliant with the Financial Services Conduct Authority and the Financial Advisor Intermediary Services Act. So everything is above board and compliant with regulations. What are the characteristics and risks that we see architects and professionals, particularly in the built environment? There's a lot of pressure coming from government and regulators to expand the identification of work to all not necessarily registered fully qualified architects, and giving recognition to prior learning. What is extremely important in these situations is for architects to make them absolutely sure, and these are contained in a practice manual that we distribute, to document all discussions, site meetings, contracts, and any other instructions received from the employer, to get confirmed sign-off from the employer, and ideally to limit your liability in the event of being required to take on unqualified practitioners. There's a tremendous demand and pressure to reduce fees. In some cases, the fee cutting has become unrealistic, and this significantly increases the risk to insurers. We try to, as far as possible, deal with the demands of the marketplace. We're not in a fast-growing economy, and the amount of work out there available to professionals is very limited. So the temptation to cut fees is always going to be there, and employers will use that in their negotiations. Insurers understand that. If you have a large client, he's going to expect some sort of fee reduction if he gives you ample work during the year, and that's quite understandable to insurers. But what we are seeing at the moment is, in some cases, fees being cut to by 90% or more just to get the work. That is not going to be sustainable, and in most cases where that has occurred, we've seen claims occur. And due to the economic times, there's a propensity to avoid paying fees, and the pressure applied by the employer trying to find reasons why they should not or pay 100% or part of the fees or delay fee payments is a problem. The insurance policies will pay a portion of that, but the professional will never get full compensation, and it's important to not allow a large fee account to build up over a period of time. And if that is occurring, then it's advisable that it's brought to your employer's attention early on and not allow a huge debt to arise. In bad economic times, there's always a tremendous propensity to sue. Employers find a number of reasons why they should sue their professional, and the legal costs have increased enormously in the last couple of years, where general attorney fees are running at over 5,000 Rand an hour, and a day in court can cost you over 200,000 Rand. So it's very important to contractually limit your liability as far as possible, and avoid, as far as possible, getting involved in protracted legal negotiations. That's where the APIGIS and the APIGIS advisors, that is NMG, can provide advice on the way forward, and there is a modicum of cover in terms of the professional indemnity policy that will cover part of those fee recovery. The legal and contractual issues, particularly as regards claims, are extremely complex, and APIGIS has the resources to offer assistance to practitioners to comment on legal and contractual agreements between architects and their clients. There's a large amount of competition arising from technicians, and I think the general term is ghost architects, who sign off on plans prepared by not properly qualified architects. That's to be avoided as far as possible. There's a propensity again for skirting or manipulating regulations, where certain government and other departments of state are requiring sign-off by architectural practitioners on inadequate or incomplete plans. That should be avoided at all times, but it would be indemnified in terms of the professional indemnity cover, but would be subject to some regulation as regards the payment by the insurers. What has come to light over the last couple of years is for the funders or banks demands on architects to accept a level of risk. In other words, whereby the architect owes a duty of care to the funder or the financier. We've given a lot of advice in that regard, as the contract between the architect and his client has no connection to the funders, and that's to be avoided, and we've given recommendations on how to deal with it. Often architects are being asked to provide turnkey service where clients do not want to be involved in multiple appointments. Your indemnity clauses in terms of your contract with the client needs to stipulate that the architect is not responsible to the client for the actions of any subconsultants. There is a general pressure on premiums and claims, where insurers are becoming a lot more circumspect in the settlement of claims and requesting increases in premiums and excesses. It's there again, as mentioned before, members of the Institute and policyholders of APIGIS are part of a large buying group, which gives you a lot more, as I said, clout in that regard. We need to keep abreast of things, as I mentioned earlier on. We provide advice on practice risk management, and that will go online with our new site that we are developing, architectspi.co.za, which is similar to Reba. And that keeps architects up to date on risk management and risk mitigation in contracting with their employers and clients. The Architects PI website that will support the APIGIS site is, because it's online, is available 24/7. And as it is part of the APIGIS service, there's no charge. So besides having to be a policyholder in terms of APIGIS, the APIGIS scheme, it's a great benefit for the policyholders, and there's no other requirement. We will, via the architect's website, also provide regular webinars, which may, depending on acceptance by SAIA, provide CPD points. Just as a quick comparison to what takes place in other countries, particularly in the UK and Australia, the Royal Institute of British Architects has a facility called RIBAI, Royal Institute of British Architects Insurance Agency, architectspi.co.za, and that is very similar to what we are doing in South Africa. Ours is architectspi.co.za, accessible directly or via APIGIS. The Australian Institute owns a facility called Planned Cover, which provides professional indemnity and other insurance products as well. Sorry, I've just jumped forward one more slide. I just wanted to show how the communications take place between the architectural practitioners, SAIA, and the APIGIS. APIGIS via SAIA sends out newsletters, briefs, webinars, which will be loaded onto the Architects PI website. If architects approach APIGIS, APIGIS will pass them on to NMG, because we provide the regulatory insurance broking requirements. Once an architect becomes a client of NMG, then the communications can take place directly as between broker and client, and we interface between the architect and insurers, both as regards premiums, policies, claims, etc. SAIA and the various regional institutes will send out regular briefs. I'm sure many of you have seen quite a few of them, to all members regarding the services of APIGIS. We do not, speaking as NMG risk managers, we do not approach members of SAIA or the regions until such time as they become clients of NMG. Then it's the normal client-broker relationship. Thank you. I'm not sure if there are any questions.
Chris, thank you very much. As a true professional, you have stuck religiously to the 20 minutes session. So thank you for the presentation and for the diligence. And please, may I ask you to switch your camera on? Then at least we can engage with any questions that might come through. Maybe colleagues, if you have any questions to ask Chris, please post them in the questions box. But just to get the ball rolling, Chris, can I just ask you if SAIA members are interested when it's time for renewing PI insurance, who do they contact for quotations?
They can contact me or Annie Godfrey, who is the administrator of the APIGIS Trust.
Okay.
But the invitations to contact us will come via SAIA or the regions,
Okay.
with both Annie's and my email addresses on it.
Okay.
But the contact details are there.
Great. And then a second question, if anyone other than SAIA member members are interested in PI insurance, is it technically possible via APIGIS or not?
Yes, in fact, we get a lot of approaches. APIGIS is becoming quite a good brand, although it's quite a difficult name to remember. But what happens is we have, as the managers or brokers to the APIGIS scheme, we have a commitment that we cannot quote to any architect. We cannot quote the APIGIS rates and premiums to any architect who is not a member of SAIA or one of the regions lower than the rates for the APIGIS scheme. Generally speaking, the APIGIS scheme rates are 30% below market. And what we do is, if non-SAIA members approach us for a quote, we will give them the quote, but make it quite clear that they can do a hang of a lot better if they sign up to SAIA and APIGIS. For example, if the premium was, say, 1,000 Rand, we would say to them, the premium is 1,000 Rand, but if you join SAIA, it would be 700 Rand, along those lines. So we try to promote that, and we will give them the contact details of who to make contact with at SAIA. And once they've become members of good standing, they can come back to us and get that discount.
Okay, great. Chris, on a practical level, you know, I often, or not often, but from time to time, one comes across situations where you feel rather vulnerable during construction or during a project, and you would like some input from your insurers. To what extent do you offer advice, and how accessible are you to clients who have a APIGIS cover?
Yeah, the benefit again of being an APIGIS policyholder is that because the policyholder is part of a larger buying group, both myself and, if necessary, the insurer will give a full broker service, full claim service. What often happens, particularly for small, in the event of smaller premiums, whatever, the level of service is quite low. But we have a commitment to APIGIS and SAIA that we provide the full broker and legal advisory service to all members of SAIA and APIGIS policyholders. So you get the whole 9 yards, if I can say that. And we've been in the business for over, besides the APIGIS scheme, we've been in the business over 30 years. So we do know our way around construction sites and the problems that architects face.
Great, Chris, thank you. I see there are quite a number of questions that are filtering through. Chris de Jager has a question. Should one maintain PI even after retirement? If so, for how long?
Yes, you can put your policy into what is called runoff, and the premium reduces significantly for as long as it reduces each year a little bit more that you're in runoff. Generally speaking, architects will keep it in force for between 3 to 5 years in their retirement, depending on the level of work and size of projects that they've undertaken. But generally speaking, 3 years is probably sufficient.
Okay, great. Adrian Walls, thanks Adrian for your question. Can you insure one project at a time?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Yes, you can. There is a facility called Single Project Professional Indemnity, which is a policy taken out for one specific project. And if the project's 2, 3, or 4 years, the policy stays in force for that period of time. But it actually becomes quite an expensive exercise to buy that because you're locking insurers in. Our recommendation is to you can still buy a single project, but you make it annually renewable. What I would suggest is, and we've done that on many occasions very successfully, you need to contract with your principal, your employer, quite clearly how you're going to provide the indemnity, but it is very much doable, and there are a number of options. So I would suggest that the gentleman who asked the question gets in contact with me, and I'll give them the appropriate advice.
Great.
No
Thanks,
obligations.
Chris. Great, thank you. Marcus Smith has a question. On what basis does the insurer decide whether to pay out a claim versus going to court?
Yeah, that's quite a difficult one to answer. Sometimes insurers might say, well, the claim is the liability may be debatable. The size of the claim is not that large in terms of the insurer's perception, and the cost of litigation is probably higher than what the amount of the claim is, and insurers might decide that they would rather just settle and walk away. They have that option to do that. If the architect feels that he doesn't want the settlement to take place, what an insurer can do is say, well, we would settle this claim for, say, 100,000 Rand. We're happy to give you the 100,000 Rand, and if you want to go and defend it, it's over to you. But our advice is to settle. But they would want to not be involved in any further litigation, believing that the prize is not worth the cost.
Great, thanks.
So you cannot force. You can't force the insurer to carry on with litigation. But if he does decide not to contest any further, he is obliged to pay whatever the settlement amount would be that he could achieve.
Okay.
That again, very happy to give advice on, circumstances change from case to case, but very happy to.
Okay. Chris, I'm going to rush through. We seem to have a lot of questions coming through. So does the PI cover arbitration costs between architects and clients? Diedrich Libber wants to know. Chris, I hope you're still there. Corina, I might need your assistance. It's just gone 3 o'clock. Let's hope it's not load shedding.
I think it's just a slow network connection.
Okay. Right, I'd love to answer these questions, but I don't know the answers to most of them. But Diedrich, thank you for that question. Let me just read you the questions, and then what we can do, Corina, is we can maybe ask Chris to respond to the appropriate ones or relevant ones, and then maybe in an email just give his take on these after the event, or what do you suggest?
We will most certainly do that. I've actually just put a notice in the chat box to say we will make the questions available to Chris, and he will either answer in complete email or otherwise he'll be in contact with each individual.
Okay, great. Look, I mean, there's so many that are coming through. I just want to say thank you to all of you for posting these questions. Just see. Okay, apart from that one by Diedrich Libber, there's one from Matthew Jones. As a sole practitioner of a newly formed architectural firm, how does one determine the limit of indemnity one requires? Bashara asks the question, can you get PI insurance per project only? I think Chris has already answered that one. Yes, you can, but it could be quite costly. Vivian Hobbs wants to know, good day, thank you. Is the PI an annual fee per project? Vivian, it's not an annual fee per project. It is an annual fee generally, and you have to provide the insurers with the turnover of the practice for the past year, and so you build up information on your fee income over the annual year, and on the basis of that, they quote. Then Viren Poken wants to know, is the PGIS policy available only to PR architects or to PR senior technologists as well? Viren, I think that Chris did answer that partially. So I think we're going to have to ask him to respond to that via email, but I suspect that it is, but not at the discounted SAIA rate, but it might still be competitive compared to other brokers. Then Pravinja Arjun, I'm based in Cape Town. Okay, that wasn't a question as such. Dhiren Ramla, is it true that claims can be made against an architectural professional estate if they pass away? I am led to believe that is true, and has happened in the past. I suppose that all depends on how the original agreement was worded between the professional and the client. I don't know whether it was just one isolated incident when that happened. It did indeed happen in the UK some years, or many years ago. Tapiwa, do you also provide cover for projects in the rest of Africa? Let's leave that for Chris to answer. Then Shane Stewart, would you advise a new business starting out to obtain PI cover from the outset, or wait until one has secured a more stable stream of work when larger projects are embarked upon, especially when predominantly providing a partial service? Shane, we can ask Chris to answer that question. My personal advice is that insurance should be one of your first commitments when you start out practicing. You just never know what happens.
Eugene,
Vivian Hobbs, thank you for your comment. Yes.
Apologies, we've got Chris back.
Okay, we've also run out of time.
Okay.
So I'm just going to then, if Chris is back, say thank you very much, Chris. We'd love to address these questions, but we don't have the time for that. So I've read all the questions, and I would be most grateful then if you can give some advice to Corina back to the members. But Chris, thank you so much. I'm sure that we could have spent another couple of minutes on the topic. You've covered the essence of it very well, and on behalf of all who've attended, thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Eugene.
Okay, Chris. Yes.
Please send the questions through, and then I'll respond. And also any questions on the presentation as well. Thanks very much.
Thank you. And Corina, you can just include Chris's contact details if he's willing, and then we take it from there. Then to our sponsors, once again, Angelique and Duravet, thank you very much for making this SAIAshare possible, and for enabling us to provide CPD points free of charge to all who have attended. So over to Duravet for their slot.
For me, Sencha is like a gesture of embrace, of welcome, but also of winding down, of deceleration. Because design is about the senses. It's all about feeling, seeing, tasting, perceiving, and I think we've succeeded very well with Sencha. So, the last few years have brought me many trips to Asia, and of course, the tea ceremony is crucial in the culture. Also, the tea bowl with its very organic shape. And that was a major inspiration for me and my team. For several weeks, we have worked to find the right silhouette, curve, with this fine lip at the top, which is also a gesture, as if you want to take the bowl in your hand. Then, of course, there is also the ritual of body cleansing, as you know it in Asia, for example. So really consciously going into the bath, cleansing the body. So it's really a ceremony, similar to a tea ceremony. That was definitely one of the aspects that were important to us during the development together with Duravit. It is important to me to use authentic materials, so wood, ceramics, glass. In this case, also a structured glass that plays with lights and shadow, with reflections, because this authenticity, I think, is part of the harmony of the whole creation of this bathroom. And I think Sencha can be interpreted individually. As a designer, I provide the stage, of course, but how you ultimately dance on it is up to you.
Right, thank you once again to Duravit for those inspiring videos and for their sponsorship. Colleagues, it is my privilege now to introduce Gerard Bosman to you. Gerard is an associate professor, engaged scholar, and researcher in Earth architecture at the Earth Unit within the Department of Architecture, the University of the Free State. Gerard has been practicing architecture since 1996. He has been involved with the EU's Community Development and Service Learning Training of Architecture students since 1997. In 2015, Gerard completed a PhD. His thesis was the acceptability of earth-constructed houses in central parts of South Africa. Currently, he combines service learning with collaborative online international learning, abbreviated COIL, C-O-I-L. And Gerard is also an avid traveler, as I am, and as many of you probably are as well, finding inspiration on the road. Gerard, thank you very much for being available to share in SAIAshare with us. We look extremely forward to your presentation, Water, Vapor, Ice, the Traveling Architect's Voice. So, Gerard, over to you.
Thank you, Eugene, for this invitation. Can you see my screen?
And you're ready to go.
Thank you, Corina. You've been a star with the technical stuff. Sharing visual travel memories with others can become a long, excruciating experience for the viewers. Slides of the images that can go on forever can result in viewers' fatigue, boredom, or regret. For this reason, most of these images have not been shared with anyone before today. In response to "you can talk about anything you want" invitation, please allow a little self-indulgence, nothing academic and not contemporary. The talk should not overload, but encourage own travel experiences in which unexpected phenomena will leave memories useful in the architect's thought process in years to come. The architect's voice of a reflective visit and travel experience of place, context, and the intangible is the primary source that other voices can support. Other voices of place are secondary, while unexpected aspects of a site visit often trigger the strongest memory of place. Landscapes in Mali, Jordan, Peru, Algeria, and the Indian Himalayas were visited for their unique historical, geographical locations, cultural and architectural contexts. The way that water supports settlement and architecture in these landscapes is noteworthy. A 2008 visit to Mali in West Africa was an unexpected opportunity. I recall my first memory of the name Timbuktu. As a 19-year-old national serviceman in 1988 in Potchefstroom, the Regiment Sergeant Major, RSM, shouted to us on a dusty parade ground to get the parade formation together. "We will march your sorry asses from here to Timbuktu." For me, it sounded like the forecourt of hell. Little did I know that I would arrive in Timbuktu the same month, exactly 20 years later, not on foot with the RSM behind me, but in luxury within a Kenya Airways Boeing 777. For ages, the life-giving source of the Niger River has helped many communities. Seasonal maintenance of houses and mosques is generally associated with replacing Blanco Blanc, white clay, and Blanco Noir, black clay, after the end of the rainy season from the Niger. This post-conference tour was to visit many restoration projects of earth-constructed mosques from Timbuktu through the fascinating landscape of the Dogon country. The famous and well-known mosque of Djenne to Mopti. This 4x4 road trip provided close encounters and presented landscapes with different vernacular dwellings, contrasting languages, regional dress, and crafts provided a complete tourist experience. This rare experience of going into a mosque interior through massive heavy timber doors and handmade ironmongery made a lasting imprint. Mopti is a town and an urban commune in Mali's inner Niger Delta region. The town is the capital of the Mopti region, situated 630 kilometers northwest of the capital, Bamako. The main reason for visiting the town was that of the Great Mosque of Mopti, restored in 2006. This earthen structure in the Sudanese style was built between 1936 and 1943 on an earlier mosque dating from 1908. This photo I took from a poster at the mosque exhibition that shows the 1970s failed attempt to cement stabilize the exposed parapet walls and minarets of the mosque, created more damage than the annual rainfall erosion. The Aga Khan Trust appointed earth building architects to restore and establish an appropriate maintenance plan. The original proportions and features were re-established in sun-dried blocks and earth plaster. Some of the walls were waterproofed and stabilized with gum d'arabic, a local resin dissolved in water applied as a thin layer. Giselle Taxil, the French architect involved with the restoration project, revealed the timber suppliers to us. To source the best hardwood timber for the new doors, the team approached the fishermen on the Niger and bought boats made from the best local hardwood. I probably could not share this if I did not visit the mosque on that day. Personal travel experiences are often reveal more about the site, architecture, and social context than just from other voices perceived. Other voices provide different lenses that influence the architect's perception. Our lens is also our own gut feel that we have come to trust over time. A conference attendance on sustainable communities and development in Amman, Jordan in 2010 was an opportunity to test ideas and findings for a thesis in architecture. This visit provided a tremendous touristic experience of ancient Roman and Nabatean settlements and architecture. A unique Dead Sea experience on a 40°C day was also a significant tourist experience. This floating effect is a phenomenon to be experienced. A scorching day visit to well-known Petra stood out. Petra was a trading post of the nomad Bedouin tribe, the Nabatean. The exploration by foot through the narrow gorge of the Sig for the first glimpse of one of many monuments cut out of the sandstone rock face was mind-boggling. This cannot be put in words. The rough mountainous terrain interlaced with many deep wadis, distant spring water sources, and low seasonal rainfall availability presented water supply challenges. Over the years, the Nabatean engineers had to develop water transport solutions borrowed from the Roman expertise and other technology to optimize water transport to the city's urban core. These images show some of these water canals. I was fascinated when I saw it, carved either into the sandstone edge and in some places built up to the edge. You can see it here as well. I wondered about the many conversations between the stonemasons and the engineers about the slope to achieve the correct flow within the cool shade of the Sieg. A lifelong fascination with vernacular and self-help building positioned a career in academia. Training students and self-help builders in South Africa has been the shared link with international trainers and academics in hands-on earth building workshops focused on natural and environmental friendly building practices. Attendance of the Terra Conference 2012 presented an opportunity to exchange thoughts on earth building with other academics and practitioners. This visit held the opportunity to experience the mystical mountain settlement of Machu Picchu, a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1983. This 15th century Inca citadel is in southeast Peru on a 2,430-meter mountain ridge in the Urubamba province, 80 kilometers northwest of Cusco. After the conference in Lima, the arrival in Cusco provided a short-breathed experience enforced by the altitude of 3,400 meters above sea level. The train trip provided the natural link next to the river valley for a 90-minute ride as part of a scenic build-up to the town of Agua Caliente, hot water. The flow of water around the town provides excellent pause moments. And also in town. The town developed around the hot spring and a very thriving tourism industry. I had to meet the locals, of course. The train track goes through the town. Always aware of water as you meander through the town. The natural warm baths were soothing after many hours of walking. Since you must book your visit to the hour of the day weeks in advance, you do not know if you will have good weather for photos, but no photo or video could prepare me for the next 4 hours of my visit. After a short bus drive through rain mist further up the mountain, I was highly blessed. The clouds opened, the fog lifted, and revealed an unforgettable view. I first chose a 2-hour climb on Huayna Picchu to reflect back onto Machu Picchu. Everyone made most of the sunlight since it could change quickly. This photo almost looks unreal. It looks like a poster in the background The only giveaway is the sweaty face after the climb. American explorer Hiram Bingham, a history professor from Yale University, discovered the ruins in 1911. The abandoned 500-year-old settlement was very well preserved thanks to the high-quality stonework craftsmanship. During the 1970s, Kenneth Wright, a hydro engineer, surveyed the water network. 2 geological faults from a natural spring in a catch basin on the northern mountain slope is the cause of this natural spring. Wright's evidence suggests that this also resulted in the settlement layout. He furthermore claimed that it was carefully planned before it was built. The ancient Inca engineers created a sophisticated collection system to carry water to the settlement. A 750-meter-long stone-lined wall canal that varies in width between 100 and 120 millimeters and 100 to 160 millimeters deep. The average slope of the canal is about 3%, emptying into a system of 16 fountains throughout the settlement. The agricultural terraces maximized available land and protected it against erosion. This extensive drainage system is one reason the terraces and structures are in excellent condition today. I couldn't get enough of these canals and basins. I took several more photos. The Earth Unit at the Department of Architecture at the University of Free State has been the vehicle to share experiences with like-minded students and professionals in other countries. The Earth Unit is a member of the international network of education organizations called the UNESCO Chair for Sustainable Settlement Development, Earth Construction and Architecture. This network provided an invitation from the Algerian Ministry of Culture to attend an annual institutionalized event dedicated to earth architecture. The 4th International Cultural Architecture Festival was held in Algiers in April 2015. At the festival, several activities were presented to more than 1,500 participants. Workshops on adobe and compressed earth block, earth plaster, and arches, vaults, and cupolas were offered to children, high school learners, architecture students, and professionals in the building industry at the Polytech School of Architecture and Urbanism of Algiers. The workshops were followed up with a conference at the University of Ahmed in the city of Adrar and visits to heritage sites in a region called the Gurara. The oasis capital of Timimoun is in the middle of the hyper-arid zone of the Sahara Desert, with an annual rainfall not exceeding 100 millimeters per year. There in the back, at the top of this dune, you can see Timimoun in the background. The Fougara has been used to irrigate the Timimoun oasis gardens for centuries. In Algeria, the rest of North Africa and the Middle East, the Fougara system has been traditionally applied for capturing and channeling water towards an oasis. The Fougaras capture and distribute groundwater through gentle sloping draining galleries with air shafts. These ingenious hydraulic structures, functioning for centuries, are declining each year, influenced by urbanization and environmental challenges. The situation is further aggravated by the uncontrolled drilling of new wells and boreholes, which cause the aquifer depletion. Fougara is not just an irrigation system, it is part of the socio-cultural heritage. These complex water rights are passed on through many generations. These photos are of the visible parts above ground called kasriates, consisting of small basins with division boxes in the form of combs, with divisions that reflect the time, lineage, and splitting of water rights from parents handed over to their children. Again, I couldn't take enough photos of this. I was totally fascinated. At the invitation of the Students' Educational and Cultural Movement of Ladakh, I participated in the Earth and Sun Festival in July 2017, organized by engineer Sonam Wanchak. The Earth and Sun Festival consisted of theoretical lessons and construction activities and various experiments on soil matter, materials and techniques for students and international professionals. This is the Phiang Valley. The event was held at the foot of the Phiang Monastery, 15 kilometers outside of Leh, the capital of Ladakh. This is the monastery of Phiang. This is Leh, one of the streets in Leh. So this is part of the Indus Valley, where you can see Leh next to it. For 11 days, I stayed with the charming family Nyangani on their farm stay. For most Ladakhi houses have 2 floors. The kitchen downstairs is often used during winter months, and the kitchen upstairs is used during summer months. A room downstairs and a room upstairs, different size windows. Most homes are covered in 2 to 3 meters deep snow during the 7 to 8 long winter months. The lady of the house prepared bread for us every second morning outside. The most lovely meals we had in this house. This is a very Ladakhi setup for eating. The locals even invited us to an exceptional tourist, but quite a regular event for Ladakhis in Leh. So I did not mind the 25 kilometers standing at the back of a bakkie. Look at the hair. Or the 5-kilometer walk to the place, because visitors always sit close behind the young monks to sit at the feet of the Dalai Lama himself. We tuned into the local radio station for an English translation. In reaction to the Tibet Buddhist stupa, or monuments in the Ladakh landscape, engineer Sonam Wanchak coined the ice stupa and developed this glacier crafting techniques to create artificial glaciers. It is used for storing winter water. Otherwise, it would go unused in conical shaped ice reservoirs. During spring, April and May, when water is scarce, the ice stupa melts to increase the water supply for crops. It works on only gravity, no mechanical pumps needed. With an annual rainfall of fewer than 100 millimeters, agriculture in Ladakh is solely dependent on snow and glacier meltwater. So in the ice-cold air, they just spray the water and the ice forms around twigs, branches, natural vegetation stacked around the pipe, the vertical pipe. Due to the climate change, the region experiences hotter summers and spring seasons. Water is scarcer, impacting agriculture and food security. At this point, it's late spring and the water is still melting, the snow is still melting. In summer, it is nothing to look at. Sonam Wanchak knew ice could last longer in Ladakh if it could be shaded from the sun in the shape of a cone that offers a minimum surface area to the sun while holding high volumes of water. In 2016, Wanchak was awarded the Rolex Award for Enterprise for his work on the ice stupa development. He received 100,000 Swiss francs, which he used as seed money together with donations to repeat ice stupas throughout Ladakh. This project is growing and is receiving a lot of media attention. Please look for ice stupa on YouTube. These 5 memories influenced my perception of the vital services and cultural structure needed for architectural thinking. Our exposed and constantly changing and fragile built environment depends on much more than just structure, function, and beauty. Unexpected phenomena create unforgettable memories, useful in the architect's thought process in years to come. Exposing ourselves to learn from different cultural contexts opens possibilities for connecting ideas to architectural solutions. Architects insist on their own site visits for a first-hand experience of the site area and context. The contextual building culture with available skills and materials. It is similarly used for an architectural synthesis. We cannot rely just on building precedent, other voices. We need case studies as a first-handed experience to formulate our voice. Opportunities to travel beyond our South African cultural context do not come often. Options to travel should be used. We trust our gut feeling. Our attention to detail serves us well. This is the architect's voice. Thank you.
Here we are, Gerard. Thank you. Look, I was riveted and I'm awestruck by what you presented to us. And I just like to just confirm to all our attendees, over 300 we had this afternoon, that what Gerard presented this afternoon is bespoke. No one has seen this slide presentation in this format before. And Gerard warned me when I invited him many months ago that he needed time because he does presentations specific to the event. And Gerard, I just again want to say thank you so much for fascinating and the responses that have come through just affirm that. George, it's let's say thank you for a very informative presentation. Dries says, Doreen, wonderful imagery. Vivian says, remarkable ideas. Adrian says, fascinating travels. Christo, very interesting and certainly inspirational. Thank you very much, Gerard. Damn, this was cool. I am only a little bit jealous, says Hendrik Mostert. Diederik says, fascinating. Can you request again for webcam, Jenny? Thank you so much, Gerard. Katuna says, and then Deep T says, thank you, wonderful, well done, Jackie. Hannes Kutsia, thanks. And so we go on. Pravinja, thank you very much. Colleagues, thank you very much. Once again, I've jotted down some thoughts, but can I just say that all the SAIAshare presentations, all 17 of them, including this one, is available via the SAIA website and via ECPD website. So please do take the liberty, if you want to share this presentation or have a look at it again, to do so. So Gerard, once again, thank you. Colleagues, that then concludes the SAIAshare number 17 event. Please just bear with us for another few minutes because I'm going to introduce you to the presenters for next month. Thank you once again, Chris and Gerard, for inspirational presentations. Thank you for our Duravit sponsors. We really appreciate your support. To all of those SAIAshare friends, members of SAIA who've attended and who attend regularly, thank you for attending. We trust you have enjoyed this afternoon with us. Your attendance and feedback makes the effort worth the while. Remember, SAIAshare carries CPD Category 1 value, 0.1. 10 events gives you a full point. You will receive an email from SAIA within the next week or two to download your certificates. Then we invite you to join us again on the first Friday of November. We will be having an interesting conversation with Ian Alexander, who needs no introduction. Ian is a seasoned architect with a wealth of experience. He will share with us about the 5 silver bullets every practitioner should have in his pouch. So if you want to know which 5 silver bullets you have to carry around with you then join us next month. And our second presenter will be Philip Nell. Philip is a dynamic young architect from Cape Town who will share with us on the topic Instagram, the digital building space. And I'm sure that for young and old, this is going to be also an extremely interesting presentation. So don't miss these two presentations on Friday afternoon, the 4th of November, 2022. And I think that's the day before Guy Fawkes. I greet you with a quote by a famous architect. Sadly, he died in December of last year. He famously said, "I don't take no too seriously. Dyslexia made me realize that people who say, but you can't do that, are actually very unimportant, should the word read." And if you wonder who said those famous words, who suffered from dyslexia himself, Sir Richard Rogers. So colleagues, let's learn not to take no for an answer. Thank you once again and have a pleasant weekend. Bye-bye.